week. I mean, I guess you have to go kind of like half of this day, then you're halfway through the week. And then we're headed down the back end of the week. It's Wednesday here on the watch party. Glad you guys could show up. Things are going down much as usual. It kind of started off a little slow for me this morning, though. And I was concerned. I was like, man, there's not a lot of things happening. And you know what? It's still pretty much the same things happening, developments of bad stories to worse, realizations of stupidity to dumb. It just keeps happening. So yeah, we're pretty much down those veins, but there are a couple of updates that I thought were pretty fascinating. There's actually something new that went down yesterday with JD Vance that's not surprising at all. People don't like him, and he's the only person in the room who didn't realize that no one likes him. That's how JD Vance operates. Glad you guys are all here. We got lots to go through, as I pointed out. And afterwards, after I got that little bit of a slow start, what then happened was things started moving. And now I got too many things to talk about. We'll see if we can squeeze it all in. So if you guys are enjoying it, you go ahead. Let's start from the beginning of this. I usually forget at the top. Let's like the stream. And I'll remind you guys, maybe everyone isn't in here yet. Let's like the stream over on YouTube. That is over at Watchlist TYT. And you know what? I'm still seeing maybe no one over. Oh, we had a couple more over there on JR Rated on Twitch. I thought maybe no one who ever watches tends to be anyone that goes on Twitch. Wait, let's see. Oh, John is texting me. Uh-oh, what happened? Oh, John Iderola. He knows I'm on right now. Why is he texting me? Maybe I'll tell you guys what he's texting me about in a little bit. But I mean, I'm not sure which kind of incentives to to offer you guys for me to read the text from John Iderola that he shoots me right at the top of the hour, knowing he's going on in an hour, and I'm probably going to go over. What an asshole that guy is. Don't you agree? Let's start. I'm done giving that guy trouble who's never going to hear it. Like I said, JD Vance was at an event. He was at the University of Georgia, I believe, and he was there for a TPUSA event. And I don't know if he was there for the debates that was going to be going on, but the debates were happening. And JD Vance, I don't think, was ready for them. Let's start with this particular point that he was trying to make that nobody really wanted to buy.
And look, there are certainly things that the Pope has said in the last few months that I disagree with. Let me just take like one very concrete example related to this conflict in Iran. So the Pope said something where he said, and I'm gonna try to remember the exact quote, but he said that God is never on the side of those who wield the sword. God is never on the side of those who wield the sword. I'm pretty sure that he said that exact statement. Now, on the one hand, again, I like that the Pope is an advocate for peace. I think that's certainly one of his roles. On the other hand, how can you say that God is never on the side of those who wield the sword? Was God on the side of the Americans who liberated France from the Nazis? Was God on the side of the Americans who liberated Holocaust camps and liberated those innocent people from those who had survived the Holocaust? And look, there are certain.
Maybe you guys heard a little bit of some murmurs from the audience there at the back end of JD Vance trying to explain away something about wielding a sword and God is in favor of. He's continuing down this battle with the Pope because the Pope is against him in the war that Donald Trump started killing people behind. I guess JD Vance doesn't understand about wielding a sword. Was God against all the people that were stopping the Nazis? You mean the Nazis that said that God was on their side? Hey, isn't it weird how no matter who this person is or what their agenda is, or the fact that Adolf Hitler and his Nazis were wielding the sword, they said the same thing. God is on our side. It's almost like you can just claim it, and then whoever wants to buy it can buy it. And then after all these wars start and stop, I feel like the Pope isn't the one going, yo, rah, rah, one side or another. It's about kind of ending all of this violence, maybe not getting into more of these wars. But JD Vance is an effing warmonger, so he doesn't know the difference. Let's pick up for when someone decided to jump in and scream over his stupid points.
Those who had survived the Holocaust? I certainly think the answer is yes, and I agree. Jesus Christ does not. I agree. Jesus Christ certainly does not support genocide. Whoever yelled that out from the dark, he certainly does not. I think that's pretty easy. I think that's a pretty easy principle. Okay, so here's a guy. Let me just say this. This is a guy. No. First of all, random dude who's shouting. Can I finish my point and then I'll respond to what you just shouted? Is that okay? Okay, great.
Yeah,
Give him 1 second to
I feel like whenever you have some struggles with responding to someone in the audience at a Turning Point USA event. Hey, can I finish my point before I address your point about how he pointed out, the guy from the audience, in case you couldn't hear him, said Jesus does not support genocide, while you're talking about how the Pope is wrong and the Bible talks about he who wields the sword. Hey, but we're wielding swords and he's totally on our side. So when the thoughts of genocide comes up and JD Vance runs out of all of his points about how he's holy and Jesus is on your side, I feel like you guys are not going to be surprised by who he turns to next to blame, because the first blame obviously went on Jesus because Jesus is on JD Vance's warring ass side. So that one failed. This is who he decided to go with afterwards. So this is when he came back to the argument that he asked for a break from because he was getting his ass handed to him.
To respond to this guy here, he said, I believe he said the administration supports a genocide in Gaza. And here's my response to that. When we came in, the humanitarian situation in Gaza was an absolute catastrophe. You know who's the person who got a peace agreement in Gaza? Donald J. Trump. So if you want to complain about what happened in Gaza, so if you want, sir, to complain about what happened in Gaza, why don't you complain about Joe Biden and the last administration? We're the administration that solved that problem. And by the way, not only was our administration like the administration that solved the problem, but the president. Excuse me, sir. Right now, you see more humanitarian aid coming into Gaza than it has any time in the past 5 years, because we have taken that situation seriously. And that's one of the things that I'm proud of about our administration.
At some point, JD, you're going to have to give up the Joe Biden argument. You notice he came to it after a couple of other instances of trying to explain these things away. Does he think he's like in a debate? He was at a Turning Point, a USA event. He's like, I'll be Charlie Kirk and I'll get my ass whooped in debates just like he used to. Except JD Vance, he illustrates it way too much. That guy out in the audience was screaming about first how Jesus doesn't support genocide. He didn't have a good answer for that. Then somehow JD Vance has this argument that there's a peace agreement that's been agreed to in Gaza and it's peaceful. And the people of Gaza are living lovely. You know, all those folks that we backed up with Benjamin Netanyahu's assault on all these folks and leveling the entire area, and how Jared Kushner wants to create some great oceanfront property that we can get rid ourselves of all these filthy brown people so we can start building Trump towers along the coast. It's weird how suddenly all those things that they openly said with their faces has now turned into this being this sweet peace agreement and this deal in Gaza. What world is JD Vance living in? Oh, he's living in the world that says it's all Joe Biden's fault. By the way, Joe Biden was totally on board with continuing to kill all these folks and backing everything else that Benjamin Netanyahu was doing. But what changed again? Except that it got increased and openly talked about their ideas. I mean, I think the only difference maybe was that Joe Biden wasn't talking about building Trump Tower in the same area where he was supporting a guy who was trying to commit this genocide against all of these folks and continuing going after now folks in Lebanon. What world does he think anyone else is living in? A world where, as you heard that guy from the audience scream, you're killing children. If you kept listening to JD Vance, you would have been able to hear the crickets in his argument that was in response to killing children. He didn't address that point. You know why? Because they're killing children. But let me show you guys something. There's a reason why you could really hear very clearly whatever that guy was in the audience that was screaming back and forth at JD Vance and whooping his ass in that discussion. There's a good reason why you could hear him. It was pretty clear. I think it's because the acoustics were really well and there wasn't many people hanging out.
But it doesn't bother me when he speaks on issues today, frankly, even when I disagree with how he's applying particular principles. So the most obvious example
man, there was like tens of people in that place, came to see the vice president of the United States. Isn't that embarrassing? It's extremely embarrassing. Um, you're the guy who's been sent off to continue with TPUSA events while we're in the middle of a war, while you're destroying the economy, while you still haven't talked about all the ways you plan on getting out, and these rumors about JD Vance being one of two people in the room that was trying to stop this guy from starting the war in the first place. But now his dumb ass is sitting on chairs trying to defend himself, and there wasn't even that many people willing to come out and listen to his lies. I believe, hopefully, this is at the University of Georgia, I believe. People are finally done listening to this guy. And you know what? You know who was supposed to be there? Who wasn't? Erica Kirk was supposed to be there in her late husband's role in running this whole thing with TPUSA. She did have a reason for not showing up though. This is what they said from her fill-in that was there to interview JD Vance, and I'm sure JD Vance was very disappointed.
Mr. Vice President, I'm on stage here instead of our friend Erica Kirk.
That's right.
Because unfortunately, she has received some very serious threats in her direction, which is terrible. It's a terrible reflection on the state of reality and the state of the country. Mr. Vice President.
Too many threats towards Erica Kirk. Actually, this is what she said. This is what she responded to that post with that video of that fill-in host telling the audience why she's not there. Erica Kirk wrote, "I was so looking forward to tonight's event at the University of Georgia with our Vice President, JD Vance. But after all our family's been through, I take my security team's recommendations extremely seriously. Thank you to our amazing Georgia chapter for your support. God bless you all." She booked it. There's been a couple of theories as to why she didn't show up, outside of the fact that she said there was some security issues. And who can really argue with someone talking about security issues with their family, especially when you've seen your husband get, killed on national TV and all cameras and the internet to watch? There's one person that'll challenge it. Her name is Candace Owens. I'm beginning to enjoy these battles between Candace and the rest of MAGA. Here, she said, "Stop." This is in response to Erica Kirk. "Stop. This is exhausting. You pulled out because of bad ticket sales. For the same reason TP Faith had to reschedule the Pastors Summit and various other events quietly. People don't believe you and don't line up for you because you struggle to tell the truth about even the most basic facts. Where's the video of Charlie appointing you as CEO weeks before his death?" Damn, she's digging deep. "The Secret Service sits above your security team. Were there actually a viable threat, the vice president would not have continued that event. Your closest threat is the shit public relations team you hired that continues to operate under the delusion that they are smarter than the public. They aren't." Man, Candace is upset. She's in full constant upset mode, and she's really highlighting the fact that JD Vance got 25% of the arena filled, and then 15% of that filling of the arena were people screaming at him about how Jesus does not support genocide, and argued with him and beat his ass down. She also reposted this post from Baron Coleman, who's someone who was at the event apparently. He pointed out and said that the place was empty, 1,200 people at most. Pretty wild considering the vice president was there and it was an arena. Also, he has this Jeb Bush energy because he called it very low energy. He said, "I went to the TPUS Auburn tour event prior to Candace and you investigating, and it was completely packed like a rock concert. That energy is gone." So Candace Owens was giving some credence and credibility to that guy's accounts of what was happening at the University of Georgia, while JD Vance was getting his ass handed to him by random people screaming off stage with great points. All they had to do was toss out a few sentences. So, but there was one moment, and I guess this is in the energy of TPUSA. They had one, folks are calling him student. I assume he must be a student. He was at the University of Georgia. He got a chance to ask a very direct question to JD Vance. And man, it was a direct question.
But President Trump multiple times called the files a hoax. The acting attorney general said Epstein shouldn't be a part of anything at the DOJ. If there are compromised government officials in those files, how can the public trust that this administration will hold anyone accountable when its own Justice Department is actively blocking the investigation? Given that, can you clearly articulate your stance on whether federal entities should have a formal investigation? Thank you.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah, let me figure out how I'm going to come up with some kind of answer to dispel these very clear facts that you have folks that are obviously covering up the Epstein files, because you guys talked about how these are the most disgusting things ever. And Todd Blanche, now acting AG, says, I'm not releasing anything else. I've given it all, when everyone knows they haven't given it all. Also, my man had multiple layers to his questions. You guys haven't investigated anything. Why not? Is it because you have people that are compromised through these things? How can people trust you? Man, what a great question. Let's see if JD Vance can come up with something outside of it was Joe Biden's fault, because that's what JD Vance likes to talk about. Let's see if he could come up with something. But here's a warning though, and a quick spoiler alert. It's going to be long, and it's going to have nothing to do with what it is that guy asked him.
So first of all, you said the Associate Attorney General or something. I haven't seen that quote, but here's my view on the Epstein matter. Number one, the guy was clearly a scumbag. Okay. Number two, he clearly had extraordinary connections, both with intelligence services, both inside the United States and outside the United States, and also with a lot of very wealthy and powerful people. Okay. Number three, I have been a firm advocate and will continue to be a firm advocate of where we have something, and you know, like, I'm probably more obsessed with this than most officials. Okay, probably more obsessed with this than most people even in this room. Is when you see somebody who says something in an email that suggests, you know, there's one email I read, and it's been a little while ago, but it was talking about, you know, one person sent an email to Jeffrey Epstein saying, oh, there were some really nice like pizzas and grape sodas or something like that. And I remember it sounded like the Pizzagate conspiracy theory, but here it was in like an email from a guy. And my reaction to that was, we should absolutely investigate that person. Okay. And, you know, you remind me, I'm going to follow up on that to see whether we've investigated that person, because we should. We absolutely should. When you see evidence of sexual assault, sexual misconduct, regardless of whether you're powerful or not, in fact, you should probably investigate it more if you're a powerful person, right? I don't want powerful people, you know, being involved in this disgusting behavior. But
oh my God. That guy went on for like a minute and a half trying to explain away and avoid the question that was asked. Yo, you've got people that are compromised. You guys are covering up the Epstein files. If you got folks that are refusing to release more evidence and things that we all are waiting to see by law, why should anyone trust you? Somehow you got to talk about how Epstein was a scumbag. Yo, that's like, you know, the obvious alert. The thing is, your president, your guy that you worship, JD Vance, was his best effing friend. And as he goes through all of these emails and he wants to investigate someone because it looked like Pizzagate, I have a good suggestion for JD. Maybe investigate things that you also saw in those files that pointed out multiple minor young girls accused your president of rape, threatening to kill them multiple times. It's weird. He can look at a Pizzagate insinuation and want an investigation, but he can't look at Donald Trump, who has a past of being an adjudicated rapist and also talking about how he likes little girls, and then seeing accusations about things that he potentially did to little girls, and somehow he doesn't want to investigate that. It's weird how he keeps losing these arguments, but what he doesn't want to do at the back end there, I don't want to defend people that are, you know, are rich and powerful and want to get off from anything that they've done in the past. Yeah, it was just as ironic as you thought it was, because he continued on. And again, along that same vein, he doesn't want to protect the powerful and the rich who do anything. So he went to this point.
Behavior, but I have to defend the president on this, because when he said that it was a hoax, what he was talking about was this democratic idea that he's connected to Epstein. If you look at those emails, it's like, you know, they were in the same, you know, everybody in Palm Beach knew everybody, okay? Like, the president has said he knew Jeffrey Epstein and he was a scumbag. But what you see in those emails is that Jeffrey Epstein hated Donald Trump, and Donald Trump hated Jeffrey Epstein. In fact, one of the emails is about Donald Trump narking on Jeffrey Epstein to the local sheriff, saying, this guy's a scumbag, you should go and pick him up. So when Donald Trump says, when the president says this is a hoax, he's not saying it's a hoax that Epstein was the scumbag. He's not saying that it's a hoax that Epstein was connected to powerful people. He's saying this democratic idea that somehow he was Epstein's best friend, that is a hoax. And if you look at the emails, it's obvious that Jeffrey Epstein hated Donald J. Trump.
None of this makes any sense. JD Vance is cherry picking an email exchange somewhere where it looked like Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump hated each other. Hey, JD, I can go back and listen to some old interviews, open speaking engagements where you had this weird thing. You hated Donald Trump. Matter of fact, you call him America's Hitler. You said you may have to hold your nose and vote for Hillary Clinton because this guy's noxious. He's going to be the end of the party. He goes in and he uses the working class white vote to his advantage. Isn't it weird? JD Vance said so many things where he hated Donald Trump, and now his sorry ass is sitting on stage defending him because he started by saying, "But I have to defend the president." He and Jeffrey Epstein hated each other. What a liar this guy is. When's the last time you guys saw people who hate each other and one of them on their birthday submit this to their birthday book about how much they share the same types of things? We have certain things in common, Jeffrey. Yes, we do. Come and think of it, Donald. Enigma, never ago. Have you noticed that? It's weird. It's like this weird cryptic message with this shape of a young girl that he submitted to Jeffrey Epstein. Does it seem like they hated each other? Or did it seem like at some point, because Donald Trump always turns on his best friends like he does every day, and like soon he'll turn on JD Vance, it's almost like it's who Donald Trump is. And that's not a good argument either, JD, because the last thing here is everyone has seen this quote too.
It's not an image that matches Trump's declaration that he was not a fan of Epstein's. He said, quote, "He's a lot of fun to be with. It's even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do. And many of them are on the younger side. No doubt about it, Jeffrey enjoys his social life." So even that, I mean, to Bob Costa's point, in 2002, Trump had knowledge that Epstein liked women who were, quote, on the younger side.
They hated each other. JD Vance sucks. JD Vance loses at everything. Man, what a bad debater that guy is. We'll see how much more ridicule comes his way. But honestly, he's a clown. It's I just wanted to highlight who the vice president of the United States is and what he's been up to. He's been hanging out at TPUSA events with college age students, kicking his ass around. I mean, 12 to 15 of them kicking his ass around because no one wants to listen to him anymore. Let's move on to something else. That wasn't supposed to take that long. I guess I had way too much fun with it. I've got updates, though, you guys. I've got updates. I've got one specific update because this was like my favorite story yesterday. And damn it, I'm a little bit frustrated that I didn't even like see this part. Did you guys know the DoorDash grandma who showed up for that fake ass meeting with Donald Trump where she's delivering McDonald's? That suddenly there was this that also was released either the day before or the same day.
I take pride in the work I do. The tips are part of that. Now I actually get to keep all of it. I've heard a lot of promises from politicians. This is the first one I actually felt helped my pocketbook. I feel a good tip coming, and I'm very grateful for that. Nice to meet you. I have your DoorDash order for you.
Look at this. This doesn't look staged. That does.
I want to thank you for the no tax on tips.
Oh, that's good.
It has helped my family out immensely, and I definitely appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, it's going again. DoorDash posted that. DoorDash, the company that's partnered with the White House to try and push the promotional thing of Sharon Simmons, as we all heard about, as she's become famous, to go deliver some McDonald's to Donald Trump. They had an entire promo with like the underscore of fun, comfortable music, just so you can relate to old Sharon. And about her visit to the White House, you know, that impromptu one that wasn't set up at all, even though they couldn't even cut out the part where Donald Trump said, "This isn't like a setup, is it?" It's not the only one. I was surprised to see not only did DoorDash post it, so did the White House. It was a different one they had, a whole different commercial.
Yeah, nice to see you.
Nice to meet you. I have your DoorDash order for you, Mr. President.
Oh, that's very nice. Look at this. The reason for this is the fact that I heard you picked up an extra $11,000 because the tax bill was so big. The refund was the biggest you've ever had. Is that a correct statement?
Yeah, I saved over $11,000.
It's really, we call it the great big beautiful bill. We should call it the great big beautiful tax cut bill because it's tremendous amounts of money.
And are the White House good tippers? Do you know?
Wait.
Potentially. Yes, very.
And I especially want to thank you for being here.
Well, I want to thank you for the no tax on tips. It has helped my family out immensely, and I definitely appreciate it. Thank you.
They run ads. Both entities are running ads. Of course, as you saw there, the White House was at least smart enough to cut out the part where he said, "This doesn't look staged, does it?" Because it's totally staged. The DoorDash video, I guess, forgot to omit that part. It caused a bit of an uproar, and the uproar was the laughter over how fake this whole thing was. I just wish everyone connected to the fact that everything they do is fake. And what it did was it prompted old Sharon Simmons to go on Fox and Friends to recoup her image, an image that she had no idea she was going to get put on display like this amongst the dumbest people in the country. So she went with the second dumbest people in the country to talk to them as they sat on the couch and tried to help her out with her character.
But Sharon, you're not an actor. This is what you do. People think you're an actress.
I do not act. If I acted, I probably wouldn't look as old as what I do.
No, you do not.
No, you look great.
But no, I am not a paid actor. My life is just like everybody else's, but our personal savings and everything on our taxes, that's kind of our business. I mean, I don't go around asking you guys, hey,
right,
what'd you get on your taxes, and so I don't feel like that's my responsibility to tell everybody, what I got or what I didn't get. When I say that, the $11,000, that is the amount of tips that I made. And so that's just
got it.
And Sharon, because of Donald Trump, you get to keep all of that $11,000. You get to spend that to help your husband get better who has cancer, or you get to use that for your 10 grandchildren, or however you want. And it's nobody's business. And don't feel bad, because there's some haters out there that will always hate anybody who is standing next to the president. But we signed up for it, and you didn't. So that's the hard part. So don't worry about the haters. You're a lovely Christian woman.
Don't worry about the haters, Sharon. I believe it's Sharon. Yeah. Don't worry about the haters, Sharon. We over at Fox and Friends are here to help recoup your image. By the way, maybe they shouldn't have had her. If the main point that she wanted to make was everybody's all up in my business, talking about how my tax dollars and how much money I'm saving. Isn't that weird? I feel like there was this woman who looks just like Sharon Simmons, who was the first one to start talking about her money that she's saving in taxes on the tax on tips thing because of Donald Trump's great big beautiful bill. It's weird that once you start talking about the money that you saved on your taxes, and then everyone else starts talking about the money that you said you saved on taxes, it's nobody's business anymore. Maybe you should have shut the fuck up in the first place, and no one will be talking to you about the money that you saved on taxes. Isn't it weird? Why do people keep becoming victims after they promoted themselves to be in the spotlight? If you don't want anyone to talk about you, don't put your face out there. Isn't that weird how this works? But Ainsley wants you to not pay attention to the haters. Why are you worried about the haters all the time? Oh, but by the way, she also pointed out it was $11,000 that she of tips that she made over a year. And normally she'd have to pay taxes on that to whichever degree, who knows? That's the personal business that she doesn't want anyone in. And so the mindset that they tried to push is that she somehow got $11,000 worth of like tax money back. It wasn't. That's how much she made in tips. And a portion of that 11,000 would have been taxed differently. I just want to clear up this whole thing that people thought was going on, because somehow $11,000 was going to help pay for her husband's chemo treatments, which also doesn't make any sense. And this is supposed to be some heartfelt, warm story that's going to make us feel great. But I feel like she was bristly because there's these rumors, which are should be based in reality, for all these appearances that she's been making for Republican congressmen, the White House, Donald Trump, and all these folks running these commercials. She must be getting paid for this. That's what she doesn't want people to talk about. That's the money watching and the wallet watching that she doesn't want people to be doing. Because if she's not getting paid for all this promo work that she's doing, damn it, this is a bad deal you're getting involved with, Sharon. I thought you had good business sense. You got to get these fools for everything that you can. But what really was fun to me, after this whole thing blew up and everyone made fun of how fake this whole thing was, Julian Crowley, someone most folks hadn't heard of. He's only got a few hundred followers over on X. Julian Crowley is the PR guy for DoorDash. And he was pissed about how his PR stunt that I guess he was a part of coordinating didn't really land that well. He was going off. This is what he posted. No one's claiming it was a real delivery. It was clearly and obviously a planned event to mark a new policy starting. To claim Sharon is a prop, plant, or an actor is totally wrong and off base. She's a dasher, and she participated to support the policy that benefits her. And he followed up. Of course, we would speak to Sharon about what to expect before she appeared before the media and with the president. But Sharon spoke for herself and in support of no tax on tips. To call someone a prop for saying they support a policy that benefits them and many others, it just isn't fair. Man, these guys whine a lot. It's not fair that you guys talked about her. It's not fair that you guys bring up the fact that maybe she got paid for this whole thing. Calm down, bro. Talking about the fact that you guys tried to pass this off. And now that it's pretty obvious that no one's buying that you guys tried to pass this off, he was responding to folks, and he's like, of course not. We were setting this whole thing up in the first place. That's why we acted like it wasn't a setup. Here, he had more to say. He was responding to someone else who was calling his ass out. He says, what are you talking about? She's an everyday American. She lived in Nevada, told lawmakers there was no tax on tips would help, moved to Arkansas, then came to DC to do this special delivery to mark no tax on tips happening. You need to touch grass. I feel like whenever someone gets this defensive and bristly and starts running and barking back at everyone, it's probably one of those things where you end up not looking all that good. So this random guy named Jason over on Twitter challenged him as well. And this was the last back and forth that Julian Crowley had, that I think he was maybe typing a little too fast to think about what it is that he just admitted. He said, Sharon has been advocating for the bipartisan no tax on tips policy since last year. Today, she got to celebrate a huge win by making a special delivery to the Oval Office. I think it goes without saying that took some level of planning. So in Julian Crowley's attempt to make sure that he's not embarrassed by the fact they tried to pass this off as real when it was obviously not real, he said, of course it wasn't real. We were just having a PR stunt. Damn it. Random Jason said, so yes, to this being a planted PR story coordinated with the White House, where it wasn't mentioned that she is in some way being compensated to play, quote, random DoorDasher, make an impromptu delivery, and then agree to interviews. You see that this doesn't help, right? I feel like Julian Crowley probably jumped off of Twitter for the rest of the day after he accidentally admitted, yeah, everything you guys are saying is what we did. And of course we did. It's pathetic. You guys know those commercials sometimes when maybe it's like maybe a medical thing or someone getting some kind of treatment or something, and at the bottom it'll say actual customer paid for their story, something along those lines. That's all it was. I'm sure she's a DoorDasher, and I'm also sure that they asked her to be a part of a promotional push to try and make Donald Trump look better, and they tried to make it seem like it was real since she actually is a DoorDasher. But there's a reason why at the bottom of those commercials they say they were compensated for their story. The story is real, but they were compensated for it. And the promotion is a promotion. We're trying to sell you something. Idiots. And they tried selling it. And luckily, they're really bad at it. That what they were trying to sell was that Donald Trump is somehow helping the regular American with his no tax on tips policy, even though their bill actually at a historic degree, siphons more money from regular and working class people and filters it higher up to the richest, most oligarchical type of people in the country and in the world, actually. He's giving our money all over the place. That's what they're trying to avoid us to stop talking about. And instead, all it did was highlight how absolutely stupid and incompetent they are. Sharon Simmons, I don't even hate that lady, man. She's getting her money. She saved herself a couple $1,000s off her $11,000 worth of tips that she made. Go get your money. Just don't think that they have your back, because once they're cornered, Sharon Simons will have her ass right under the bus. Man, these people are really bad at everything that they do. Like everything they do. We gotta be the dumbest country in the world to continue to listen to these guys. Let's shift gears. Like I said, there's so much happening. That was my favorite story from probably so far this week. We're only halfway through. We'll see if something can usurp that. I have so much fun with it. If you guys missed it yesterday, the whole story on Sharon Simmons, the DoorDash grandma. Oh my God, go to watch list and check it out. It was great. If you want to know how we got where we are today. I know you guys don't miss a second of me talking. All right, let's move on. Since we had this war happening here, outside of the whole, genocidal comments and threats that Donald Trump has been making, outside of the devastation to the entire region and the threats of World War III and all that going down, and the kowtowing to everything that Benjamin Netanyahu wants us to do, I guess we can revert back and talk a little bit more about what it is that's happening with those gas prices. And the thing is, now that they've been cornered for weeks on these gas prices that they keep saying was going to come down, and now they have to start admitting, I'm sorry, actually, we mean they're going to continue to go up, the argument shifts. And Kevin Hassett makes a very, very clear revelation about what they actually care about. Watch this.
So while it's very frustrating to go to the pump and see what the price of gasoline looks like, that the benefit for oil producers and workers in those industries is significant enough that the GDP effect in the U.S. is much smaller than anything that you would see if you look at, say, an Asian economy, or even in the U.K., where because of their Green New Deal type policies, they've more or less stopped producing oil. And so I think the U.S. is insured against a significant downside because we produce so much oil.
Kevin Hassett, in addressing gas prices for regular folks who are trying to go to work or wherever they're trying to do with their gas, is while it's very frustrating to go to the pump, all you regular people, and see it, the selling point Kevin Hassett's got is oil producers and workers in the industry of oil production are making a killing, bro. They're making so much money, it makes us look good. And you know what? The United States is better off than these European countries that maybe weren't going hardcore on oil production. But I tell you what, the rich oligarchs that are pushing for oil production and want us to make more money and make sure our policies make them more money, boy, are they happy. Forget you and your gas prices. The rich people are getting richer. That's Kevin Hassett's message. It sucks, doesn't it? But at least my rich oligarchs are happy. If you thought it was a mistake, or if you thought it was something that maybe all these MAGA types get their wires crossed and don't really know what it is that they're saying, Clay Travis, podcaster, Trump supporter, MAGA guy, he reveals his disconnect from regular folks too on this topic.
We could put a barricade up and we could say we're not going to allow any Iranian oil to leave. We are not going to allow them to access global markets at all. I think Iran needs oil and gas money more than we do. And again, this is a lot of people have talked about this. You know who's been celebrating the most in the United States over the war in Iran? Texas oil people. The amount of money that they are making when it's $100 a barrel as opposed to $60 a barrel is through the roof. And because America has energy independence, we actually, as a country, benefit to some extent when oil and gas prices go up now, because we are selling oil and gas on the global market and our businesses, their profits skyrocket. Now, individuals, when it comes to what we have to pay on oil and gas, have to pay more, but a lot of that money stays in the country, unlike in 1991 when we had to go to war in the Middle East. We could...
I feel like Clay Travis should have reviewed that argument before he broadcast that argument. You know who the happiest people, he literally used the term, who's been celebrating the most in the United States over the war that's killing service members for no reason, that's murdering over hundreds of school children, and that's killing more innocent folks in the region is Texas oil people. And we're supposed to be happy about that? We're supposed to, after hearing and reading and talking and complaining about gas prices shooting on average well above $4, we're supposed to go, oh, I love spending all my money on this gas because Texas oil people are making the money off of me spending more off of this gas. And then my tax dollars going to murdering more innocent people. Boy, this is great. But at least the money that you're spending is staying within the country and going to our American oligarchs. Do they listen to themselves? Man, these are great campaign ads for anyone that's running against these dumbasses. But the thing is, it's not new. This is how they operate. Once they're cornered, just like JD Vance at the beginning of this whole hour I was talking about, once you're cornered with your argument being nonsense, you have to go ahead and give away the game. Kevin Hassett is not the first time he's done it. Remember, he was talking about consumer prices too.
But the fact is that the U.S. economy is fundamentally sound, and that if it were to be extended, it wouldn't really disrupt the U.S. economy very much at all. It would hurt consumers, and we'd have to think about, if that continued, what we would have to do about that. But that's like really the last of our concerns right now, because we're very confident that this thing is going ahead of schedule.
American consumers' prices are the last of their concerns. We knew that. It's just once you start telling us, it's it's like cemented. I feel like people shouldn't forget it. They keep talking about it. The rich people are getting richer. Isn't that like a lib talking point? Damn those rich people stealing all of our money. But now somehow they tried to spin it to be a good thing. Even Stuart Varney caught this smiley clown face sumbitch trying to talk about how great this is for folks. Remember this? Also, he gave him a couple of facts.
Whilst you were talking, we had a graphic on the screen. Put it up again, please, which showed the rise in all kinds. Have a look at it. Put it up, please. Yeah. All kinds of items which have gone up very significantly in the last year. Okay, now that's the last year. They're up, and those prices are reflected in the way people think about inflation. I don't think you've won the war against inflation at this point.
That's exactly right.
A fine performance, if I may say. 3.3% inflation, and you smiled all the way through, as you usually do.
Stuart Varney, I think, is tired of his smiley ass, too. I hit you with these facts. You're lying about inflation. You're lying about the prices of things going up. You're lying about how great everything is going, but your smarmy ass keeps smiling. The reason Kevin Hassett smiles through all these things, I guess, it's some kind of a tool that deflects Donald Trump and his anger anytime someone goes on and clowns it using his policies that can only be clowned. He actually can't defend this stuff. That's why when Donald Trump went on to talk to Maria Bartiromo, he also couldn't defend it either, except he doesn't hear how stupid he sounds.
Is this going to be enough to lower the price of oil and gas, sir?
Well, it's going to be eventually. It's going to be lowered. No, it might not happen initially, but it's going to go down. When this is all over, look, the stock market, the Dow hit 50,000. It was supposed to be in 4 or 5 years. They said it won't happen during his term, but it'll be maybe 4 or 5 years. It hit 50,000 in my first year.
So do you believe the price of oil and gas will be lower before the midterm elections?
I hope so. I mean, I think so. It could be. It could be or the same or maybe a little bit higher.
It's the same argument. Clay Travis had it. Kevin Hassett had it, and Donald Trump has it. The Dow's at 50,000. He keeps talking about that. And then when asked specifically about gas prices going down, maybe, but probably not. Who gives a damn? Did you know how much money the people who bribed me and the me myself have been making off of this? You guys should be so proud of me. I'm stealing your money. I don't think we should, underestimate how blatantly they're telling you we're robbing you and you should be happy about it. That's literally their argument. We're taking your money. You're spending more on everything, but you should be celebrating it because at least Americans are stealing your money, which isn't even the case. Let me show you why. It's odd that they're lying too. Guardian article points out how this war and how much money is being made and who's making it. The war has created one of the biggest energy supply crises in history. But BP expects to post exceptional earnings from its oil trading desk, reaping a windfall from choppy energy markets triggered by this weird thing called the U.S.-Israeli war on Iran. Energy traders are navigating significant market volatility after Tehran's effective closure of the Strait of Hormuz's shipping route. BP said on Tuesday that its refining margins had strengthened and that the oil trading result is expected to be exceptional. In the first quarter of this financial year, you guys want to know how exceptional these things have been for so many folks? And don't forget, Clay Travis said, rich Texas oil barons are the happiest and celebrating the most for our murder of innocent people and the sending of U.S. service members into harm's way. Here, last week, UK rival, I'll say that part again. Last week, UK rival, last I checked, UK is not the United States of America, which was a bad argument in the first place. But the UK rival Shell said it anticipated significantly higher oil trading profits for the quarter. Analysts have been upgrading their profit forecasts, with the US bank Citi raising its estimate for BP by 20% to $2.6 billion. Adjusted net income, that's just in the January to March quarter. They had to adjust their profits, their expectations for their profits to be extremely high because of the war that Donald Trump started, and is now saying, I mean, you know what, you should be happy. Look how much money these rich people are making. You know that they'd be on the streets unless they made a couple extra $2.6 billion in January to March. That's not over the year. I want you guys to compare it to the $11,000 that old Sharon Simmons, DoorDash grandma, says that she made over a year and gets to save her taxes on her tips. And we're supposed to applaud that. And at the same time, we're supposed to applaud rich billionaires making more money off of our backs. Okay. Listen, man, it doesn't get any more blatant. I shouldn't even have to explain this to these idiots that keep buying this garbage. I can't understand it. They're telling you directly. I got one more story. Let's see if I can squeeze it in 12 minutes. But if you guys happen to leave before I'm done with it, all these stories show up on the page. They show up on the watch list page. At the end of the day, you can check those out. In fact, I would encourage that you do so. I sift through the comments sometimes, even on some of my favorite stories, and see some of the comments happening. I appreciate you guys and I enjoy it. So if you happen to be in there, maybe give me a shout out. Maybe I can be there. Maybe I can say something to you guys. You know, sometimes the evenings are slow and I have some time. Let's move on to this last story, though. And I think this is also in right up Donald Trump's alley with what it is that he's all about. Have you guys seen this? Let me go ahead and show you what it is that's happening. This is as of what, today? This is today, bro. Donald Trump took to Truth Social. After all of this Jesus healing nonsense that he posted that had to take down. And he posted, the radical left lunatics might not like this, but I think it's quite nice. President DJT. And look, he reposted someone that was Irish for Trump is their handle. And it's an image of, again, what he perceives to be Jesus with his arms around Donald Trump. And it has a caption. It says, I was never a very religious man, but doesn't it seem with all these satanic, demonic, child-sacrificing monsters being exposed that God might be playing his trump card? Donald Trump reposted that and said radical left lunatics might be upset at it. That is after a bunch of radical right MAGA fake Christian white supremacists got mad at you posting about how you're Jesus. Hey, so now that you're posting yourself with Jesus as if you're like, you know, his favorite in the world, I feel like that's along those same lines of you being of a higher power where, you know, God is on your side and you're associated with Jesus. I feel like you're doing the same thing that you just caught hell for doing. And it also flies in the face of some of these excuses that these ass kissers made. Remember yesterday I talked about Graham Allen and David Harris Jr. both posting the exact same language where they said, I don't believe the president intended to depict himself as Jesus when he posted that. he's a believer. I do appreciate that he deleted it, something Trump has rarely done. And then he talked about discernment being learned and not always automatic. Do you guys think he's learned any discernment? Do you think after everyone got on his ass and then he deleted it and then people fell back in the line, do you think he learned any lessons? Or do you think he's posting now images of him standing next to Jesus? But you know what? The good news is he has a fresh excuse. What he was actually posting was himself hanging out with a doctor. It was a doctor with his arm around him, because that's what that depiction is. It's of a doctor, because that's what Donald Trump thinks. In reality, what it's resulted in is ridicule and mocking, and everyone pointing out very clearly, no one's buying that doctor bullshit. Here's one of the examples.
I did post it, and I thought it was me as a doctor, and had to do with Red Cross as a Red Cross worker there, which we support. And only the fake news could come up with that one. So I just heard about it, and I said, how did they come up with that? It's supposed to be me as a doctor making people better, and I do make people better. I make people a lot better.
I think people know that excuse was no good, bro. So the fun times keep coming, I guess. Maybe I know he kind of didn't listen to Riley Gaines, who he's no longer a fan of anymore, and all the rest of the Trump MAGA sycophants who tried to stand up for their religion. That is before he said, "I'm your God," and they fell right back into line. There were a couple people in this particular breakdown news package that MS Now went through. I guess they were asking folks in the streets what they thought of Donald Trump's new, fresh, blasphemous types of posts, and a few of them weren't really happy with it.
I want to show you an image that President Trump posted on his Truth Social yesterday. What do you make of this?
Personally, it's disgusting. I talked with my wife about it earlier. I mean, Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior, and that right there is, I mean, that's, I don't really have words for that. That's disgusting.
That's a disgrace. I'm very upset about that. I mean, how egotistical can you possibly be?
As a Christian, how do you feel when you see this image?
Offended. Yeah, I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed that he would actually do that. The man I voted for and trust. You know what I'm saying? People are going to see this at work. I'm upset about it.
As a Christian, what do you make of this?
I find it appalling. It's disgusting. You're mocking my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. He's mocking it. I don't agree with it. I think he should put his phone down and focus on running the country.
Why would he do that with the whole Antichrist thing? You know what I mean? Like, it makes no sense to me. He's probably regretting that he posted that and he deleted it.
What do you make of this image?
I think it's interesting.
Losers. That woman's carrying that baby like a sack of potatoes. You know, whenever I get my dog a big, 48-pound bag of dog food from the store, you have to throw it over your shoulder. It's like, wow, right? She had that baby slung over her shoulder and was cussing her ass off. Man, these Christians are different. These are different kinds of Christians. Let me show you guys one more thing that I also enjoyed, though. You know, if everyone's upset at him, right? And he doesn't give a damn. It's weird how that works. It's like, it's like he thinks he's a dictator or something. Here's another one of these videos. They're all over his ass. And this, I think, and I hope, would be the lasting legacy of what Donald Trump thinks people are buying with his excuse about him being a doctor/Jesus.
Are you suffering from a serious life-threatening illness? Has your doctor told you you're probably going to die? My name is Dr. Donald Trump, and I have helped millions of patients with conditions just like yours. Cancer, heart disease, ALS, you name it. Conditions your doctor said were untreatable. I've seen them all, and I fixed them all. I use an advanced technique that the cheating medical establishment don't want you to know about. The results are, frankly, incredible. Nobody gets results like this. They're the greatest results.
They gave me 6 weeks to live, but then I called the hotline and was healed entirely through the phone.
I was clinically brain dead, and my wife was about to pull the plug when the doctor saved my life.
If you or someone you love is suffering, don't wait. Don't let the corrupt medical establishment tell you what's possible. Call 1-900-NOT-JESUS today. Let's make your health great again.
Oh, he's back. Sometimes, and I know there's tons of AI things happening. I'm sorry, I'll run a couple of them. Sometimes, to the people that maybe don't fully get it, maybe some of those folks in that MS Now breakdown and interview sessions that they were having, maybe they need to see it as blatantly as that. Because after he says, "I thought I was a doctor," and they go, it's a plausible excuse. When they say things like that, sometimes you need a mocking, parody type of video that shows how stupid of an excuse that was. Because, they will listen to the radical leftist libs who have TDS. And somehow Donald Trump's post about him being hugged by Jesus a day after he went through all of that stuff, somehow that's targeting the radical leftist libs. That's all he thinks he has to say to fool these idiots into falling right back into line. Why is it that they keep doing it, though? Because in reality, in case we're going to imagine this world where Donald Trump actually is a doctor, I just want to show you guys this. I thought this was ridiculous. Dr. Oz was on Donald Trump Jr.'s show Triggered, because Dr. Oz doesn't do any work. And he let us in on a medical opinion by Dr. Donald Trump.
Office. So he'll pepper. Bobby and I usually run the meetings together. So he'll first start off with candy bars, that little candy jar he'll call it. He'll hit the red button, and then comes the diet soda pops, which is your dad argues that diet soda is good for him because it kills grass. It's poured on grass, so therefore it must kill cancer cells inside the body. So he'll try. Please, I'm not going to argue this right now. We were on Air Force One the other day, and I walk in there because he wants to talk about something, and he's got an orange soft drink on his desk.
Fanta. He drinks Fanta.
That's what I didn't want to say the brand name on the podcast. He's got a Fanta on the desk, and I say, "Are you kidding me?" So he starts to sheepishly grin. He goes, "This stuff's good for me. It kills cancer cells." And then he tells me it's fresh squeezed. So how bad could it be for you?
Okay, but then maybe he's onto something, because I will say this: I know a lot of guys pushing 80.
Office. He'll pep.
So Dr. Oz and Donald Trump Jr., who are pilfering and stealing money from the United States of America, as we know, Trump Jr. and them are sending tons of money into their accounts directly, based off of their using of their positionings, can sit and laugh and joke about how effing stupid Donald Trump is. That is, after he sat there with RFK Jr., I'm not sure if we're forgetting this in our short memory, just last year talking about how Tylenol causes autism, how RFK Jr. is completely reshaping our health objectives, firing people who think clearly. But they can joke about how he says Diet Coke must kill cancer cells in your body. That is because it kills grass when you pour it. It's the same guy that during COVID said that maybe if we pour a little bleach down our throats, it might kill all of the infected cells in our body too. This is what I always want to stress. When you go over how stupid someone is and how orange Fanta, and I know people will be mad. He said it was freshly squeezed. He was joking, you guys. You can't take a joke. Well, when his thoughts like that transfer into how RFK Jr. runs things, and there's measles outbreaks where literally people die, and also your same stupid thought processes lead to hundreds of thousands of people dying from COVID because you didn't take that seriously either, and you thought maybe we'll just shine some light and pour some bleach down people's throats. It ends up leading to policies that are just as stupid and are dangerous. It's crazy that we have to keep explaining this. When someone has belief systems and they think that they're a dictator and they declare everything they say is gospel, idiots like Dr. Oz are going to go, I know better than this, but I have to follow my Führer's orders. And then people die. And they go on Triggered with Donald Trump Jr. and guffaw and laugh and talk about how fucking stupid the president is. And we're supposed to laugh along with them. These are the results of not taking stupid people seriously or thinking jokes are just jokes. I'm gonna talk about the Pope really fast. I wasn't going to, but I'm going to, because this is something else he hasn't let up off of. I know we were just talking about his latest blasphemous posts, and Christians are gonna be mad about it. They're not used to it. The new thing is Donald Trump tells Jesus what to do. Donald Trump rewrites the Bible. It's gonna be the DJT version of the Bible instead of the King James version. I think that's what he's going for when he was selling those Bibles. Anyways, did you guys know this? Did you know this though? Donald Trump hasn't stopped. I feel like it kind of subsided. He didn't win the battle, but it seemed like it was subsiding. But Donald Trump took his dumbass right back on Truth Social just like Tuesday night and posted, will someone please tell Pope Leo that Iran has killed at least 42,000 innocent, completely unarmed protesters in the last 2 months, and that for Iran to have a nuclear bomb is absolutely unacceptable. Thank you for your attention to the matter. America is back. Hold on. Like I said, in case you're looking up and going, why are you rereading old posts from Donald Trump, JR? He was talking about Pope Leo like at the end of last week. They had their beef. It seems like enough people have accepted it because we move on from all of this. No, he's back on it. It's like, you know, his brain keeps resetting to all the fights that he wants to have, even the ones that he lost, even the ones that have a bad PR for him. But this dum-dum is back on Truth Social retargeting Pope. What is he doing? It really doesn't matter because his minions line up and they go, oh, my turn, mein Führer. If you're criticizing the Pope again for absolutely no reason, it's time for Tom Homan to chime in.
I'm a lifelong Catholic, baptized, First Communion, confirmation. I love the Catholic Church. I just wish they stick to fixing the church because there's issues. I know because I'm a member. And stay out of politics. I mean, I watched the Cardinals get interviewed in 60 Minutes. They don't understand. They think the Trump policy is inhumane and ICE is a rogue agency. President Trump has illegal immigration down 97%. When 97% less people are coming, how many women aren't being raped making that journey by the cartels? How many women and children aren't being sex trafficked? How many people aren't dying making that journey? Over 4,000 died during the Biden administration, historic record. 250,000 Americans dead from fentanyl, historic record. Secure border saves lives. A secure border is the most humane thing we can do. With an open border, the most vulnerable people in the world are going to give their life savings to the cartels, make that dangerous journey. I wish they sit down with me and hear my experiences the last 40 years. Maybe they understand why a secure border saves lives. A secure border is the most humane thing this country can do.
Tom Homan decided to chime in about the Pope too, because Donald Trump keeps chiming in about the Pope. And apparently Tom Homan's a lifelong Catholic. I'm a member of the church, but I think the Pope should shut up and stop talking about politics. Bro, you're the border czar or some head and replacement for the border guy that got sent away because he was violent, vicious, and bloodthirsty. How about you stay your ass out of politics? Who said that you're a politician? You weren't appointed. In fact, you were just put in that place without any kind of confirmation because Donald Trump needed you. So and let me ask the lifelong Catholic, the big time noble person who has some objectives to what the Pope is talking about, because popes never talk about peace. Tom Homan, do you think your Catholicism would back up your previous actions?
In the summer of 2024, when Trump was running for office and Tom Homan was at his side on many a campaign trail event and basically publicly touting that he was going to be an important part of the president's border initiatives and in the administration, during that time, the FBI began hearing from the subject of another investigation that Tom Homan was soliciting bribes and doing so in exchange for promises that he would eventually be in the administration and be able to deliver and influence federal contracts to help those businesses that paid him. Now, what the FBI decided to do was have a series of undercover agents approach that intermediary and also approach Tom Homan. And our sources and an internal document that we reviewed show that the FBI recorded him receiving this money in September 20th in a meeting they arranged. This is all before Trump is president, but it is really interesting because they didn't go after Tom Homan. They happened to learn from another investigation that Tom Homan apparently had this scheme of making money by offering this.
I feel like Tom Homan should probably stay out of the morality game, considering Tom Homan has had his bribery scheme that was where he shifted $50,000 to try and make sure that his moral ICE coordination for deporting all these people was pre-planned to make him some money and give out certain contracts to certain folks who want to profit off it too. Still from our tax dollars. I feel like all these immoral people should probably shut up, because we'll continue to discover and remember the things that they've done. So let me give, I like taking you guys to church. I'm almost done, I promise. Let me take Tom Homan's ass to church, just like Mike Johnson had to be taken to church. Mike Johnson is Moses, and apparently Tom Homan is the Pope, because he's a lifelong Catholic. I wonder if, considering Tom Homan's bribery scheme that was covered up by this Department of Justice and the FBI, I do wonder if he's ever read Exodus chapter 23, verse 8. Do not accept a bribe, for a bribe blinds those who see and twist the words of the innocent. Hey, Tom, that bribe that you took, that your mob boss is making sure it's cleared of your name, I feel like it doesn't match up with your Catholicism, your lifelong version of being a Catholic. I have one more. It's Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 19. We are in church. Do not pervert justice or show partiality. Do not accept a bribe, for a bribe blinds the eyes of the wise and twists the words of the innocent. The good news is that Tom Homan was never wise, so the bribe didn't blind his wise eyes, and also he was never innocent, so it definitely didn't twist his words. He did, as he continues to do right now. We'll see when the next idiot jumps on with everything Donald Trump has to say to bring back old arguments that they sucked at and make themselves look bad, all for the graciousness and the acceptance of Donald Jesus Trump, their Lord and Savior. What losers these guys are. No wonder they're going to get their asses handed to them, and they have to try and create some kind of violence before any kind of elections happen, because they suck at this, and they're savage, bloodthirsty, violent people. It's who they are. We have to rid ourselves of them. And I guess some of you have already ridded yourselves of me. I'm over time, you guys. I got to go. I got lots of things to do as we edit all these things down. If you missed anything, if your friends and family have left early because they went to talk to John, I understand it. These stories can be up on the page later, so you get to catch back up. Tell them in case they missed out on that. But we're done for Wednesday. Thursday's upcoming. Look, this week's kind of motoring by, isn't it? We'll see if we have some good news upcoming. And think of the best news that you could possibly imagine when it comes to our politics here in America. And we'll all keep our fingers crossed. Pray to God about whether or not the good news may come one day. Maybe you're going to knock on the door. Have you heard the good news? Maybe it'll come tomorrow. I mean, I'm not putting it on your minds, just whatever you may think that good news may be. We'll see you guys later. Love you. Miss you. See you later, Ma. We'll see you tomorrow.